For my production horror story, I'm going to talk about a situation to build a virtual log routing appliance. So basically, they would have a bunch of, let's say, computers in a school or something like that, forward all their logs to our appliance. Our appliance would package them up, unify their formats a bit, and then send them up to their sort of central logging appliance for the region. It had a large amount of throughput, millions of logs per second, and it needed to be very performant. So naturally, we wrote it in Perl. We had spent a few months building this thing, tuning it, getting it just right. Towards the end of it, we were packaging it up to deliver to the client the night before the delivery was due. And so I was clearing out some of the temporary files and lock files in the folder, and I issued the command rm-rf lock star. There was an extra space in there, and I want you to try and guess where that space was. That's right, it was between the word lock and the star. And so what ended up happening is, instead of removing all the files that started with the word lock, I removed all the files named lock and all the files. That means all of our code, totally gone. GitHub was not really a thing at that time. I think it existed, but nobody was really using it. We were editing our code in production, like any good engineer does. We had been making builds and backing them up, and so we thought, okay, not a big problem. We went and tried to restore one of our backups. Well, the backups we never tested the restore on. Lo and behold, they were corrupted the whole time. Every time we took a backup, it was corrupted. So that wasn't an option either. So I panicked, told the client that we had had a disk failure, which was not completely false, and proceeded to try and recover all of the code using disk forensics. I found the strings utility, which essentially took our entire hard disk and dumped it to a single 20 gigabyte text file, and then went through that text file basically line by line, looking for variables that I knew that I had used in my various code files. I did manage to recover probably a good 80-85% of our code, but interestingly, because of the way the strings command worked, everything was flipped upside down. So all the last line was first and the first line was last. There was also a lot of junk and jargon, as you might imagine, interspersed in the code because it's a hard disk. It's not going to be, clean and nice. So eventually we scraped all the code out, flipped it upside down, removed all the extra bits that had polluted the code, and actually took that opportunity to add a couple of extra things to the system that we had been missing before, that we had realized that we had missed because we hadn't looked at this code in some cases in a couple of months. And so we realized, as we're recovering the code, I forgot to fix that bug. I better go fix that bug. So actually, the product came out stronger than it was when we were originally going to ship it. We learned some extremely valuable lessons about testing your backups, about using mature software tools like SVN at the time, which we started using religiously, and being much more careful about how you design your systems, how you administer them, the software development lifecycle. Countless lessons that we learned through this catastrophic mistake. It's a mistake that has lived with me, and a story that I tell whenever I get the opportunity, especially to junior engineers, about how bad things can get if you are complacent, and how bad things can get quickly. We've all had that experience where we go delete a row in a database and we accidentally delete all of them or something like that. So it's really important to keep aware of the fact that we can have tremendous impact with small actions. So that was my production horror story.